Joining me now from La Paz is political analyst and member of the media platform La Resistencia Bolivia, Alberto Echazú. La Resistencia works on communication, analysis, and counter-hegemonic ideology. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for the invitation. Good evening.
How did things look today as voters went to the polls?
Well, it was a peaceful day. Citizens went to the precincts where they exercised their right to vote, even though some radical opposing movements had called for disobedience. But it was a democratic day and everything worked normally.
We have not spoken a whole lot about the opposition candidate, so tell us, the leading opposition candidate is former President Carlos Mesa. What was his record in government and what can Bolivians expect under a Mesa presidency?
Well, Carlos Mesa has been an ally of right-wing and neoliberal governments for a long time now. First, as a prominent journalist who supported right-wing policies in the 90s. Most importantly, he supported Gonzalo Sanchez de Losada's first term in charge. It was a disastrous government who it became infamous for privatizing the main companies, the state companies of the country, leaving it in shambles. And after that, as his vice president, where he continued with the neoliberal agenda and policies, that government ended with Ghani fleeing the country amid massive protests, and that left him in charge from 2003 to 2005, where in spite of saying he would listen to the people, he just continued with neoliberal policies, and that ended with his demise. He resigned numerous times, so he is just a figure from those times, a neoliberal candidate.
Alberto, the opposition has not been able or was not able to present a unity candidate against Evo Morales. Why do you think that is?
Well, the opposition has been trying to install a dictatorship storyline, where saying that this government is no longer democratic, but is a dictator one, and installing them as the real fighters for democracy. Of course, this is not the case, and the fact that they haven't been able to unite against Evo Morales shows that they have actually been fighting for their own interests all the time, economic and political, private and sector interests, that they only search for their private gain and to remain with some political power, with representation in Congress. They are not fighting for democracy or for the people.
What does the election mean for the politics of the region?
That's a good question, because I think it's a statement against theorists and theories who were saying that the progressive cycle had ended in the region after some right-wing governments took charge in neighboring countries like Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, etc. And it shows that that wasn't the case, that isn't the case, and that a progressive left government like ours is being successful in fighting for the people, and there's no progressive cycle that has ended.
One last question, Alberto. If Morales doesn't manage to win a first round victory today, do you think the second round will be more difficult for him?
Yes, it's probably the most difficult scenario for him, but it's also an unlikely scenario. Polls show that he's the big favorite to win the elections in the first round. So I believe it's an unlikely scenario. Of course, it would be the whole opposition against him in an eventual second round, but I believe it's an unlikely scenario, and he is bound to win in first round.
Thank you so much, Alberto. We've been speaking to Alberto Echazú in La Paz.